Howdy, everybody, and welcome. How you boys doing out there tonight?
What is going on, man? What a rad intro that was.
Is there anything that brings us all together more so than Tower?
Woo!
That band, man, I just came upon them not too long ago, and that's like some of the best shit ever.
And they're relatively unknown, which means we're totally free to use it as much as we want to.
Clearly influenced by Dio, by the way. Like, if you didn't catch that.
Definitely the imagery in the video, too. Like, some of that shit looks straight out of, like, the Holy Diver video or whatever, Rainbow in the Dark. But welcome, everybody. This is a special show that I don't know if we would have ever done, but our good buddy and baller and shot caller, Trey, requested this specifically for us three to talk about because we've had issues over the years with storage. I know me and Uncle Bill has. Garrett's got a whole goddamn basement to fucking put all his shit in. So I don't know if he has or not. But movie storage, media storage. What do you do, Uncle Bill, when you totally run out of room? And we're going to go over the options.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what the fuck I'm doing on this stream because what I do is just jam a bunch of shit into cabinets and stuff. I mean, what in the hell can you do, really? Like, unless I want to build, like that one guy said, knock out my fucking walls and build a whole other, like, addition onto the house. I don't know anymore. I do have a couple of tips, though, seriously. Like, no, all kidding aside and everything, but there are a couple of things that I do.
It's a slippery slope, man. I think it really just depends on a couple things when it comes to people. It comes to what you have access to do, and your own rules. I think rules are a big thing too. Like, everybody's going to be cool with their decisions, and sometimes you have to do things that you don't want to do and break your own rules or whatever. Like for me, like I have a lot of space, but I need to be organized or I'm going to drive myself nuts. Like I can't just have stacks upon stacks on the floor and over here. And so like, that's where I'm running into a problem now is I have the space technically, but I don't want to walk down here or walk in here and have just like movies on top of movies. Like they need to be organized and categorized in some aspect. And that's where I'm running into my issue currently right now.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different options. And we're going to go through those. And I don't know. I mean, I wrote a bunch of them down because there's many different ways to keep the media and save space. And some people think it's fucking blasphemy. Some of the stuff that we've talked about in the past.
Don't you say it.
You know,
Don't you bring up binders.
My whole thing is, hey, shut them kids up, Uncle Bill.
Ain't no shutting them up.
Princess Puffins too, boys. Both of them.
You know what's weird is that Princess Puffins has been getting a lot of positive feedback on the chat for the show earlier.
I don't want to, hurt anybody's feelings or anything, but Princess Puffins' numbers is beating Steve's. Sorry, Steve.
Well, I mean, Princess Puffins is like horror aficionado, and she doesn't much care for vinegar syndrome right
I
now.
mean,
So
I liked Steve's little. It was like a brief 11-minute sort of deal. It kind of recreating the beginning of the never-ending story. You remember when Bastion went and hid in the closet and shit to read the book? That's kind of what Steve was doing.
That's funny.
I just thought that was the best shit I've ever seen, though.
Yeah.
And I want to do that next time. I want to print off all the shit off Vinegar Syndrome's website and just have like a
Here's
paper,
what we got.
like a pointer. Like, here's this thing.
Well, I brought my iPad so I could remember,
so
because a lot of
funny.
this stuff I don't remember what in the hell it is. Like this shit, like the Picorama stuff and one of their 900 sub labels, sister labels.
Just and before we start all the rest of this, though, today was the worst fucking day of that sale. Like, that was just ridiculous. I don't know. I'm sure both of you guys got on there, but like, there was nothing at all on that sale.
Yeah, I didn't grab anything yet, but I might grab a couple things. I heard you mention something about some kind of like arm wrestling movie. I mean, that is already intriguing to me. I'll have to check the trailer out. I'll probably get that. And Killer Delight. I mean, I almost believe I have the DVD of that, so maybe I'll upgrade. I don't know. I'll have to look again.
Yeah, I had no idea about the one. I think it's called Golden Arm, which is kind of like an over the top ripoff with women as like the main protagonist.
He was fucking. He was playing the wall.
I wish somebody would have walked in. What the fuck are you doing?
Get back to work.
It's like we forced them to do it. Like, you're doing this, damn it. Like, I don't care. You're gonna lose your job. You're gonna step up.
He called.
He's trying to hide.
He called the Picorama titles the Peekaboo titles.
Peekaboo, baby. Look at it.
Was he on his? I actually didn't finish watching that stream. Was he on his best behavior at work, or was he Steve?
He really
being
was.
Steve?
He was. It was like he was. You know how he is, like in his regular streams, he was toned down by about 50%. He's just kind
I
of.
saw him buttoning his button up or whatever. Yeah.
That's so cute.
It's like we all had the friends in school that would, they'd visit your house or whatever, and they would kiss your parents' ass or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And then when they leave,
Eddie
it's
Haskell
like,
of the world. Yeah.
yeah, it's Steve for you.
That's funny.
But yeah, we appreciate.
Suspirian Knight says, "I've never heard someone whisper about rape at their workplace until yesterday."
Oh my god.
Shit.
But we got a packed house already, over 100 people in here, and everybody is excited about how can we save you guys space. Right. Probably the easiest way, and this could be the first option, which I want to go do a roll call thing here too before we get started. But what do you guys think about just throwing shit away?
I would never throw anything away. I would never throw anything away. I would sell it or give it away before I threw it away.
I think we all pretty much share the same, thing about throwing stuff away, which is that we don't.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't throw anything away, man. I actually still have one tote of those old wrestling tapes that I used to trade in the 90s back there in the storage building. They're all probably ruined at this point. But hell, I've got shit back there from probably the 80s too. Still got.
Yeah, I mean,
I hear you.
I've got like flyers and those ads that they used to send us from screener companies from like 2006, 2007 that I've still kept.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure. But we're going to go through the chat here, see who we got. We got Ken Carlson, Pablo Papano, Lepke Vision Films. What is up, sir?
What up, man?
Jackson Jack, Jacob Cortenhouse, the Stuntman Mark himself, Wonder This World 97, Carlos,
Holmes,
Trey's 842. I think he was the dude that requested this show. So here you go, sir. It took about a month and a half, but we're getting to it. Bradley Taylor, Vanderhoff 66FU, Beauregard 77, Skull Crusher, brother.
Oh.
That Horror Critic, Wild Wrangler, J7 Flesher. Got a packed crowd tonight, boss. The Afro Whale.
People are chiming in big time over here.
Gus Amaretti, Dylan, what is up, young man?
So
And yeah, so it's going to be a fun discussion tonight. And another thing that's going to be really interesting because a week from tomorrow night, oh yes,
listen, listen. I love Friday the 13th. But god damn am I tired of like talking about Friday the 13th just in general. Jesus, man. I mean, I don't get me wrong. Friday when an actual Friday the 13th comes around, it's great, but shit.
so you're sick of Friday the 13th? What you're saying?
I've been sick of Friday the 13th for a while, and Halloween, and Scream, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I'm not
And
sick of. I think Friday the 13th is like. I think that's one franchise. Like you said, if a new movie came out, I'd be very interested in checking it out, just simply because it's been so long. What has it been, like 13, 14 years at this point?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I like
2009.
talking about Friday, but again, I'm newer at this, so you guys have probably talked it a lot, right? So to me, I'm kind of like, oh, gives us a reason to talk Friday the 13th. I'm down with that, but I also haven't spent years and years chatting about it either.
That's true. We've been around a long time, Garrett.
It's gotten to the point though with Friday the 13th where now you've got all these hipsters that come in and like champion like even the most awful Friday the 13th movie. They're like Jason X is like the best one of the series, or fucking Freddy versus Jason or stuff like that. It's like
There's
no,
a
no,
Friday
it's
the
not.
13th in October as well.
That's right.
You know, think here's what I would do though. Like somebody asked about the next installment of Friday the 13th, right? Friday the 13th in October. Okay, hire those motherfuckers that did Never Hike Alone. Give them $2 million to make a fucking Friday the 13th movie and bring it out. It's coming out in October. What do you guys think?
I mean, they did a great job for what they had access to. Imagine, like you said, imagine if they had a big budget behind them, they could probably do some good things.
So
clearly,
anyway,
clearly the demand for a Mutilator sequel is high. It's higher.
I watched that trailer today, by the way.
Oh my god, dude.
You know what?
What were they supposed to do with it though? That's the thing. Like, just not do it. Is that what that
Well,
the
I
answer?
wouldn't have done it.
What,
But
the
I mean,
Mutilator sequel?
Yeah. I mean, I saw the trailer. It was, it's very low budget, but I mean, at the same time, I'm kind of like, well, what was the expectation like for a movie like that? You know what I mean? Like, it was already low budget as it was. Like, to do a sequel now, like, it had to have been crap.
Well,
Like, the budget had to have been.
Here's the problem though. Like the original Mutilator, I'm sure had a really low budget, and it's not a great film or anything like that. But it was at least like it looked like a film. Like this just kind of looks like it looks like Jeepers Creepers Reborn is what it fucking looked like to
I
me.
didn't see it, so I wouldn't know. I didn't watch it.
I mean,
It's
the
like,
quality of it.
it reminds me of I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu. That's
I
almost
didn't watch that
exactly
either.
how it's filmed
Oh, really?
in that
Okay.
way. Yeah. It does look a step up from Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, too, but not very much of a step. I'll at least give it that. But
You'll
yeah.
see. You need to do a reaction video for that trailer.
Me?
Yes, you did.
I
one for
watched the trailer for Mutilator too. Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I just, it does look, it looks cheap, but I mean, I don't know what. It's hard because, like, you're right. Like, Mutilator was really low budget back in the day, but I think it worked still because a lot of movies that were coming out were kind of in a similar situation, so it kind of felt like it fit right in. Where now, the movies, there's big budgets, they look a certain way, and that one just kind of, it does look a lot like a lesser quality, and I think it's probably going to be in the same situation as like Night of the Scarecrow 2, where it's only going to have a specific niche audience, that's going to check that thing out,
Yeah. I will say it's.
I'm gonna watch it. I mean, just because.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely check it out for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, it's not coming out in the theaters. It's going to be one of those, maybe an original Vinegar Syndrome release.
Do you think they're gonna play that? I bet they do. They got to.
They've got to, yeah.
It's an
They're gonna play
updated version of that, yeah.
That'd be sick.
Like a ska version of that.
It's the version that I did. I sent it to them, and they're going to use it for the opening credits. Yeah.
Instead of the kazoo, they have a saxophone back in. All right, well, so storage. When and just to give everybody a backstory on this, so a lot of you youngsters in here have just started. Like I watched Mel's video, which I highly recommend. She worked on her movie room and everything, and she had literally all of her movies piled up there. And I was like, damn, I wish that I only had that many movies. Just because the storage for this thing, I've been collecting this shit for 23 years at this point. The year 2000, I got a DVD player. And I can remember my very first DVD shelf. It was just so small and I loved it. I was like, oh shit, look at the movies that I've got. And it quickly got out of hand.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think I'm in the exact same boat. I remember getting a DVD player probably around 2000 as well. I remember the first title I got was Fright Night. The second one was Exorcist. And the third one was Scary Movie. Like those were the first three that I remember getting. And, you know, things just every Tuesday I would go out and I would continue to buy every week. And there'd be sales. And we kind of grew up in a good time where like it got to a point where you'd go into a store. There was a lot of used DVD stores where I was, a lot. So I would go out on a Tuesday, grab a couple new releases, and then scroll through like the horror section and the used and pick up tons of stuff that were like $199, $299. So like you would leave there with sometimes with like 20 titles to add to your collection. Like I was buying anything that I knew or didn't know that was horror. Like it was wild. Now it's not as accessible. Number one, I feel like, and number two, prices are not anywhere like they were back then to get kind of like a used item. At least around me, there's no used stores anymore to get this stuff. So yeah, I was building a collection pretty quick, and at that time, I was living at home. I had just a bedroom, and you know, I remember I got all these shelves that kind of went against the wall, and they were like those ones that you could like. They were like metal, and you screwed them into the wall side by side, and they kind of floated or whatever. And I filled those suckers up, and then I had this whole big VHS storage thing. It was like a big shelving system that it was all VHS tapes. So I started piling everything on the floor, and then at that point, I was like, you know what, I've got to get rid of these VHS because I need this shelf. So that's where the purge of like my VHS in like 2007, 2008 came, where I basically for $80 gave some dude like 200 to 300 freaking VHS tapes. And I literally like, it's like one of the biggest regrets that I have now. I had some great stuff in there. And that's where I put a lot of my DVDs and stuff like that to kind of keep it going. Another thing I did, which I think is a pretty cool idea, is, you know, based on where you are, like putting a shelf that's like about a little bit bigger than a DVD, just because again, if things are different sizes, and I ran it along like the top of my room, like around the ceiling almost, and then just like lined them all up so they were like up above. And it was kind of a cool concept because you had the whole perimeter of the room. Like there was, even if you had posters, you could put them underneath, and that worked out really well. But you know, eventually that got full too, and then I moved into my first place, which was a condo, and I had a whole like setup in my basement. We built like these wall-to-wall shelves, and that's kind of was the next step for me at that point. So I haven't really had the issue, and it's almost like I don't have the issue for a while, and then all of a sudden it comes back again. I have to make new decisions. So I don't want to talk about just me. So we'll move on to you kind of about, you know, what was your first issue that you had when it came, like where were you and stuff like that, because I can then eventually just tell you what I'm doing now. Like when you guys first started noticing like shit was getting out of hand, like when you guys are probably still at home too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of the early Dead Pit videos, from the way that we shot some of those real, like, you know, 2007 YouTube videos, you can see the Dead Pit studio, and I had a big video store rack at that point in time,
which I have now.
Which
I fucking bought off you.
Well, no, that's another one.
Oh, is that a different one?
I'm talking about that big metal one that has.
Oh yeah, that one was awesome.
It was two-sided. It would hold like 2,000 movies, I think, or something like that. A crazy amount of movies. And when I filled that fucking thing up, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So at that point, I just started like, I had a separate room that had the Blu-rays and the HD DVDs. and that was on a custom made shelf that I had a buddy of mine make. That is 8 foot tall and like 6 foot wide.
He probably charged
And
you $3,000 for it because I know who
yeah,
it
and
was.
I had that big metal rack. Yeah, it was expensive.
Yeah.
Had that big metal rack, and eventually I replaced it with this big motherfucker back here, which was another one that's like 8 foot by, I think that one's 8 foot by 8 foot or 8 foot by 7 foot or something like that. Gigantic. And that's what I advise people. Like, if you're going to have a large collection and you want it to look good, like our buddy Pop has done this a couple of times. He's gotten people to custom build shelves. So that, if you want to save space, that's one way to do it. Get somebody to build you some floor to ceiling shelves, because at least that way you can hold the most movies and the most, in the maximum amount of space that you've got.
So
I totally agree with what he said about the floor to ceiling shelves are a freaking game changer. Find an empty wall and just get them custom done. That's what I did at my first condo. That's what I've done here, and it's the easiest way to get the most out of your space at that point. But you've got to find a wall that you can say, hey, this is what it's going to be dedicated towards. And how about you, UB?
Well, when we first, I can tell you exactly when I knew that there was going to be a problem is when we first started doing the show and started getting screeners and things like that. Because up to that point, it was fairly easy to, keep up with. But when you've got, companies sending you shit every week almost, now I'm not talking about great companies, but still yet, we were keeping a lot of this stuff. Then I knew pretty early on, I was going to have to do something. So I had my uncle build, and you can see it in a lot of the videos that I did, the poster collection and some of the other really early videos that I did from my room back when I was living at home too. He built a floor to ceiling kind of it was a mixture of a DVD Blu-ray shelf, but in the middle it had a cutout where you could hang a poster, and then you could set bigger kind of items in that. So it was that was the kind of setup that it was like. So I had a poster in the front, and then I had all the Blu-rays going all the way down the top and the sides, and the bottom was albums. The bottom was lined up with vinyl and stuff like that. I wish I still had that damn thing, but I never took it with me or anything like that when I moved out. But so moving up here, I can still remember selling all my VHS tapes in a fucking yard sale. That was yesterday, which was one of the biggest regrets that I have, of anything that I've, because I had tubs of VHS tapes, literal, those big Walmart Rubbermaid kind of tubs that you could get.
Yeah.
Probably 3 or 4 of those completely filled with VHS tapes, and just put them all in the yard sale and sold them all for, I think it was 50 cents or something like that, maybe $1. I don't remember. This was probably 2009, 10.
Well, the problem was around that time, the same thing with me, dude, is you couldn't fucking give VHS tapes away. That was the problem back then, is that they weren't valuable. They weren't even sought after at that point. It was you'd go to Blockbuster and they'd be trying to just get rid of all their old VHS tapes, five movies for $3 or whatever. You couldn't you couldn't give them away. So that's where I think we got into trouble, is we were looking at these things like they were worthless. And
Yep.
I think the same thing happened with things like cassette tapes, vinyls for a while. It was almost the new product CDs are here. Nobody wants this old shit. You couldn't even give them away. And I think that's where we both ran into a problem, is that we gave them away for nothing, because that's all that we could do at that point.
Well,
and now looking back on it, and you're if I would have just waited 3 years, things changed a lot when it came to that.
Well, people don't realize though is that back when DVD first came out and got really popular, nobody wanted anything to do with VHS tapes. It wasn't
Right.
there was a market to collect them or anything.
Right.
People were just oh, these things suck. Let's just pack them up, get rid of them, put them somewhere. It just wasn't like it is now. So everybody was getting rid of VHS. Everybody was getting rid of all their stuff. And unfortunately, I got rid of, I think 95% of everything that I had. I maybe kept a couple of things in there that I've still got. And then DVDs, when, DVDs shifted to Blu-ray and yada, 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 I had to took all my DVDs out of all the shelves, put them in storage bins, move them out to the garage, which is where they're currently at right now. and then all I've got is Blu-ray and 4K in the house, and I've got like I think that's like an 8 foot shelf, isn't it? CK, the one I bought off you.
Yeah, it was a video store shelf, I think from Movie
Yeah.
Gallery, if I'm not mistaken, and that's a massive fucker too.
So I've got that in the living room, like filled. I've got like a bunch of the smaller kind of shelves filled, like the put together shelves that you can get like at Walmart, like the 6 foot kind of jobs. Um, and here recently, man, like I've just been running out of shit, like of any kind of room, like whatsoever. So I'm looking into like trying to, like you were doing, like buy some sort of like rotating something that you can actually like fill up, that takes up less
Well, and
space.
I know a lot of people. I think the channel's still up. If you go to Beyond the Realms YouTube page, he was the first one that I saw that had like a budget friendly shelf that anybody that is halfway good with, woodworking and stuff like that. Not me, because I couldn't even make a fucking birdhouse or whatever back in the day for FFA. But he has a pretty good video.
FMA.
Yeah, he has a pretty good video on making that shelf. I think it's with a couple of 2x4s mounted to the wall, and
Was he the one that did like that little strip and they just kind of sit? Oh, I remember that video
he
from
was the
back when I was
first.
trying to figure my
Yeah,
stuff out. Yeah.
I think he was the first one that did that. There was a lot of people that did that afterwards, but he was the first one that I remember that did it. So you don't have to have a gigantic amount of money if you know what you're doing to get custom equipment put in.
Yeah, that was a really, really good video that he did there. And like you said, to have someone that's handy, right, that helps. Like my father he can do anything. So all I do is I just figure out a situation. Like I have an idea, we measure it out, we get dimensions, and then he builds it. And that's what we did with those huge shelves. Like I have a movie library here, basically, which there's 2 wall-to-wall shelves all the way from ceiling to floor, side to side, filled right now. It's horror on one side and everything else on the other side. So it's mostly DVDs though. It's actually 90% DVDs still. Then I have this other section that's kind of like floor to ceiling, and it's all my Blu-rays and 4Ks and stuff. Now I could build more in there. I could get shelves that go in the middle of the room because it's just a library room. There's nothing else really going on in there. So I could technically buy shelves and have them like in the middle of the floor, like a video store. I just haven't got to that road yet. But
That's
what I've
cinema
been doing,
sickness level right there, man.
what?
Yeah, it is.
Putting the
I know,
shelves
right?
in the middle of the
But
floor.
in this room here, I've created a lot of stuff like with mini shelves. Like if you can see this one back here, he built that. My dad built that. So what I did was like I had the posters up and I was like, I could easily have made this all. I thought about making this all DVDs, but I'm such a big like poster guy now, and I wanted this to look a certain way that I was like, you know what, let's just do posters and then we'll build underneath it or whatever. So, and that I could have put that all the way across as well. But I have, like, for instance, I have another shelf here. I have a small shelf here in this room itself. And that's holding most of my like boutiques. Like behind me is all Scream Factory. This over here is Arrow. This is Steelbooks. And I have Vinegar Syndrome over there. So, I mean, it's getting creative with what you have. Like every shelf that's in this room is built specifically for a certain area. So the height and size and when you see my movie room tour, you're going to see kind of the unique shelf I have for my Vinegar Syndrome stuff right now that was built out of like necessity. Like, hey, look, there's dead space right there that nothing's going on, and I'm going to build a shelf inside that to make it more, like it's doing something basically. And I don't want to give it away now. I want you guys to see like what I did there, but it's an easy way to gain a little bit more shelf space. And like I said, I'm just really trying to avoid having stuff on the floor. So what I have done recently, which I tried to avoid as much as I could, was I started going through my DVDs, and I started with the non-horror first, and everything I had upgraded to Blu-ray, I bought one of those plastic bins at Walmart and I started toting them. Because like we talked about, we're in a stage right now where DVDs are worthless. So you're either going to get into that situation that we were in with VHS and sell them off for dirt cheap. And then all of a sudden in 5 years, people for whatever reason is like, we want those DVDs again. You're like, shit, I can't believe I did that. Maybe that
So
never happens. I don't know.
No.
listen. I wanna piggyback off that for a second because I had to do something similar to that with like a lot of my older Blu-rays and a lot of the snapper case, like things that I have that were like not fitting anywhere. So if you go into any kind of like department store, any kind of like Walmart, anything like that, and they have those plastic kind of like three tier shelves
Oh
that
yeah,
pull
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
pull
Yep.
out, and I've just put a lot of like different like older Blu-rays and things like that into those and kind of like set them up too because it doesn't take up any room. You stack them on top of each other like if you need to, and you can fit like I don't know, man. I think it's like between 200 to 300 in those things too. So I mean, just in terms of like storage, and I tell you another thing that I did, and this is going to sound batshit crazy too, but I recommend that anybody do this. Walmart sells, I think they're called like American something, American something. Anyway, they're gun safes. Okay, they're like
My God.
they're relatively cheap. They're about $200. They're about 5, 6 feet tall, something like that, and they're fireproof. They're resistant to like all kinds of temperature, things like that. So they're for you to keep guns in, of course. Anything valuable that's like over $100, like a couple $100, I put in that damn thing. Lock it up.
You
If
have
the
your
house,
Dogma Blu-ray in there?
well, I've got all my comics because I've got some. I've got like the first X-Men, like a lot of really good like first edition comics stuff. I've got all my comics in there. I've got all my cards in there. I've got all my like really expensive Blu-rays. All the toys that actually
Your lenticular, bushy,
call
and
them
titty
toys.
slipcover
Exactly.
thing.
Action figures. I'm sorry.
Your neck is.
My neck is yeah. So yeah, but just because if the house catches on fire, at least there'll be that. I'll still have. I'll
So
still have that.
another option that I wanted to mention because I know none of us do this because we're not. I don't think we're techie enough to pull this off. Steve may be able to do it. I don't know. Don May Jr. is with his collection. I don't know if you guys knew this or not. He puts it all into a media center. So he digitally rips all of his shit and has it on Plex or something like that. So what would you think about, if you're toting your movies, ripping them to this media center, much like, you could like Plex or something. And then that way you've got it to watch if you need it. Because let's be honest, once we put these movies in totes and shit, we're not, most of the stuff we're never going to pull out again. You're not going to be able to find what you're looking for. So what do you guys think about that option?
I would never do that personally because I want to have this. So the only things I'm toting is something I own in another format. Like I'm not toting anything that I don't have somewhere else. Like I would never, even if it's something I'm not going to watch quite often. But I mean, the only thing I have in totes is like doubles of like, hey, I just got this on 4K or Blu-ray or whatever, and that's all I'm toting right now. Except like there are some that I'm not going to tote. Like for instance, all my Anchor Bays are staying on the shelf together. All my Halloweens, all my Friday 13th, like all the big name things that I had bought, like Evil Deads, all that stuff, like that's all staying. But like if I bought, let me just think, like for instance, I might go and buy for $10 Killer Delight tonight from Vinegar
I
Syndrome.
already bought it. That's the only one I bought today.
So I'll put that in my Vinegar Syndrome shelf. There's a little bit of room. And then I will take Killer Delight DVD out of my horror thing and I'll tote it up. Right. So like that I'll do for sure. But I don't know much about about oh, I love that figure. Disc rot. I saw someone mention that in here. My uncle talks about that a lot. And he seems to think that disc rot is going to really hurt Blu-rays and 4Ks, and that's when he thinks things like DVDs are going to kind of come back, is when this newer format starts getting like issues with the discs where DVD is going to stay pretty clean. I don't know. That's his theory on stuff that he's read. I haven't noticed any problems with any of my stuff yet. They're in a pretty good room, so I don't think weather or anything's going to do anything to them. But I don't know. I think that we might get into a position where again DVDs are sought after. Maybe specific ones become valuable. Maybe not like 50 First Dates on DVD. Like, it's probably not going to become like a thing of
Talladega
value,
Nights.
right? You know, like
Jay
nothing
Real
like that.
pulled
Like,
out Talladega Nights. With the
but like, it could be anything. Like maybe you know the first, like when we did the Anchor Bay, like maybe the first Evil Dead that was ever released on DVD is almost looked at as like something somebody wants, right? Like who knows? So that's why I'm very hesitant about selling anything off unless it's like something very mainstream or common or something like that. I might pile up and say, hey, these are some I'll sell off at some point, but I'd never rip it personally.
What?
I wanted to ask Uncle Bill in particular, and Garrett, you can chime in on this too. What do you guys think is worse? Is it disc rot or is it crotch rot?
What I think is worse? UB can talk about it.
What the fuck? Thanks for skipping that one on to me.
What is worse, folks? Disc rot versus crotch rot in the.
Well, I've never had disc rot.
Crotch rot, yeah.
It's rough, man. But like the whole idea of the disc rot situation, like I've never encountered that. But my dick demon is falling over, like it is almost touching the ground. That's the only thing I've ever had any problem with, like in terms of deterioration. It's my fucking dick demon falling off over here.
I bet you'll never get a replacement on that dick demon either.
I'm pretty sure after we put all that stuff up and they figured out it was me, I'm never going to get that replaced. But
I know. That's why I was hoping that maybe you just waited till you got it before you started ranting and ranting.
Yeah. What's the fun in that?
Yeah.
I'll beat you to death with a dick demon soon.
So, some other options, though, guys. I mean, it's important for me to, like I was saying, be able to find some of this stuff. So, I was mentioning earlier, I brought some fucking props.
Don't you dare show the freaking. Oh my god, that hurts my soul.
Look at
bro.
this. You can store all kinds of movies.
Listen, back in the day, that's what you put your CDs in, man. I bet you money Garrett never used those for CDs either.
Oh, no, I did. But the issue was my CDs still stayed in the rack and the case still was visible, but the disc just went in one of those.
So like, let me get this straight. You had all the cases lined up, but then you had like the disc like in the... okay.
Correct. Yeah, then I would bring them in my car. And then that was actually... you know what's funny is I still have my CD one like right here. I see it right now. It's under my table. With all like the burnt CDs that I made throughout the years, it's still full to the brim with them, like with all of them. And that thing was used to be in my car back in the day. I just, again, talk about not wanting to get rid of anything. Like half of those probably don't even work anymore for all I know, but I'm like, you know, for sentimental value, I'm just going to keep that thing over there.
Do you have any Creed?
But I never have done it with movies. I just...
You know he's got some Creed. Everybody had Creed.
Oh, hell yeah!
Do I have Creed? I might. I don't know.
Creed.
So somebody, wait, on a serious note though, somebody brought up this, and I've always been kind of curious about this too, because this is a big issue for like guns and shit as well. Humidifiers.
Gun kick tonight, huh?
Well, I mean, I collect guns as well as everything else, so I am in Kentucky. Like,
my God.
Remember when you pulled one out on that guy?
Yes, I do.
Get off my property.
I really did say that.
Out of my yard.
I actually told him that if he didn't get the fuck away from the door, I was gonna fucking shoot him. But that's a whole other story for a different day. So humidifiers, like in terms of like keeping the humidity and things like that at a certain level, because like that idea has been brought up by different people on different streams and things too. So I mean, do either one of you guys do anything like that, like in terms of like storage or anything?
No, I mean I may. I don't think I need to, because everything in here is, you know, it's pretty, the temp levels are pretty good. Even in the summer. I don't think I'm going to need that. I mean, unless all of a sudden I grab a DVD out of the shelf that's been sitting there for X amount of years that I haven't looked at. I open it up and it's completely rotted on the inside. Then I might be like, oh shit, maybe there is an issue, but I haven't noticed anything. You know what I did notice, actually, that you mentioned that, and I don't know if it has to do with a weather thing or just a bad product thing, is like, for instance, I have wrestling figures, right? Or for instance, I have figures in packages. What do you recommend? Like Gorilla Glue, you think?
Yeah, I think Gorilla Glue would work. You can put some nail polish on it.
And then it's fine after that.
Yeah.
But according to that well, I don't want to give him promotion or anything, but he's got way more followers than us. He says that's an excellent set. Amazing. He
Yeah, it's a
highly
good set.
recommends because they send it.
Yeah.
Yeah, TJ Frizzy's right. Like my state is not like maybe a Kentucky or where other people may live. So temperature's pretty controlled, more or less. But I did all of a sudden one day was in there and I was like looking through something and I saw like some figures. I'm like, what the hell? And I had like a wrestling figure. It was a girl. I forget which one it was, but her hair completely was like turned white in the package. I'm like, what the heck happened here? Like, I don't know if it was like like had to do with the weather or what the temp was in that room, or like
I think a
it was
lot of
just a
this stuff
bad
too
figure.
is based on what material they were using too, right? Because that reminded me. I don't know if Uncle Bill, if you remember this, like we used to get screeners all the time from the Asylum. That company
Oh,
made
yeah.
more movies than any company known to man. They were all very, very bad, cheaply put together. And another example of that is the discs, right? So I used to keep all of them for a while, and then we started selling them at conventions or just giving them to people or whatever. But there was one, I think it was called When a Killer Calls. It was their version of When a
Oh,
Stranger Calls.
I have that movie.
I've got yeah.
So I just pulled it off the shelf, and I swear to God, that thing crumbled like peanut brittle.
The disc it did or the art?
The case fell apart.
Jesus Christ! What the hell's it made out of, man?
I don't know. It was
Peanut
like
brittle,
completely
is
in
it?
pieces when I pulled it out. I was like, I don't know my own strength, Bulls. What's going on here? But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the times too, like I think with DVDs and CDs and any of that sort of thing, like the only damage you would see maybe would be with the case itself. Like it might get dry rotted or crotch rotted or whatever. And you may need to replace that. But VHS tapes and stuff like that's very different. I don't think you could, those get molded and everything else.
You know what's funny is that I see what Jason said here.
Yeah.
I've never had any issues with masks yet. Not at all. I mean, I don't have masks from like way back in the day, but I mean, I think I still have a bag in my attic of like Halloween masks that I had as a kid, and I think they're still fine. I don't think that they're wrecked or anything, but I mean, again, it's been a couple of years since I've looked at them. But have you guys found that a lot of your masks are getting wrecked?
No, but I mean, here's the issue with masks in terms of like storage, like, and I've not done a very good job of things over here, but in general, like, you want to keep them somehow or another, like a couple different things, like away from any kind of like direct heat source, away from any kind of direct like water, like any kind of dampness or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely you want to have them like conditioned on something. Like some people use mannequin heads, some people use like 2 liter bottles, whatever the fuck you've got. You want to have them like actually not folded, because when they're folded together like that over long periods of time, which like I fucking have some over here like that, what ends up happening is that they end up getting like hardened and creased in certain spots and things like that.
They kind of melt together almost.
You do not want that to happen. So yeah, I mean, that to me, masks are the hardest thing to keep like up in terms of like storing anything.
The oldest mask I've got is the one that was used in the Haddonfield movie. It's a Michael Myers mask that stays up there, and it has hardened a little bit and it's kind of dried out a little bit. But I think that the problem with the masks dry rot and everything too is it happens quicker to the really thin latex masks, the ones that are like mass produced. So that's why it was so hard to find like some of those old Shatner masks still intact and stuff from the 70s, is because that was like a really thin mask. It was not very thick at all. So most of the time, like Uncle Bill was saying, kids threw them under the bed or in the closet or whatever, and they were just laying flat and just got wrecked that way. But we're talking about media though. Well, we ain't talking about masks. How'd that happen?
I'm just talking about storage, storing anything, I guess, related.
I think one of the biggest tricks is definitely just not trying to keep everything, in the sense of, like I said, like right now I hated to do it, but I'm taking my upgrades and I'm replacing them with, my DVDs with the Blu-ray and just getting that out if I've got new ones. Even same thing with Scream Factory. Like I'm at a point now where if I'm going to buy the 4K, that DVD, that Blu-ray is going on eBay. Like it's stupid for me to have both at this point, because there's not enough difference between the two besides the cover art and all that other stuff. Like I just sold From Beyond. I've sold Army of Darkness. I've sold Texas Chainsaw 2. Like, because at this point, those things are still somewhat sought after for people that are trying to complete their collections with the slip covers and stuff. So it's silly for me to keep holding on to those and have two of the same thing basically on a shelf. I just don't have time for that anymore. I don't care about that anymore. Maybe at one point I would have, but I think that's what most people have to try to do, is just not try to keep everything.
Well, unfortunately, there's people that exist like CK over here who fucking won't throw anything away for any reason.
You don't either.
Well, me too, motherfucker. But I'm saying, like,
oh, I won't throw anything away. I'll
his.
sell it, or I'll do it in a giveaway, or I'll trade it into a store to buy something else. Like, I'll never throw it away.
No, I mean,
or even like, here's the thing though, man. If I'm being honest, like, I even have trouble like selling anything. Like, even if it's something that's coming out like new. Like, for instance, like this stuff with the From Beyond stuff and the Blu-ray and the 4K and all. I even have trouble like getting rid of the old Blu-rays because I'm sitting there thinking to myself like, what if the 4K sucks, or like what if it looks
I hear
awful
you, man.
and,
I have that same fight in my head back and forth when I hate doing it, but I know I have no choice. Like, I even have a stack that I haven't sold yet or put up on eBay or whatever that I'm thinking, maybe when we do the auction, I'll try to sell them as a lot. Like, I have like a stack of Blu-rays that I had already upgraded to 4K. I have to be pickier with the space. And I have different things I can do here. Like, I have a whole nother wall in my library that's just got autographs on it, like from ceiling to floor, autographs. And I look at it and I said, what do I do with this wall? It's an open wall. Do I go wall to wall shelves? But then if that's the case, then I don't have anywhere to put the autographs. They just stay in a binder. So when I want to keep them displayed, do I want to? So I'm trying to kind of work around having to do that. There's plenty of other things too. I'm a little more picky than I was back in the day with what I'm buying now because of similar situations like space. And before, when I was collecting DVDs, I was buying everything horror. I didn't care if it was good, bad. If I had a different version of it, I was buying it. And I just have to just be a little more picky now with what I'm doing. But with that being said, I told you guys, I'm having a problem with space right now. I'm trying to organize and condense a little bit because I don't want things to be on the floor. But I just recently bought something on Amazon, which is a shelf that it spins. So it's almost like one of those shelves you would see back in the day at a video store, where you'd push, or like at a pharmacy that had VHS tapes or whatever, and you'd spin it around. And I got one of those that's white, and it'll, it doesn't take up a lot of space. It's going to go like right here in this room where there's kind of like dead space. And I think it said it held 600 Blu-rays. And that's right now like a pretty good, amount that I will be able to put in there and still have a lot of extra space left over. Like, I don't think I have 600 that's going to fit in there right now, which is a good thing. It's nice to look around and see that you have shelf space to work with. It's a good feeling.
Pop needs to buy about 5.
Getting there is tough. What?
Said Pop needs to buy about 5 of them for too long.
Well, that's my biggest thing is I'm like, well, then what happens if this thing goes? You know what I mean? Like, I'm hoping that with that, a lot of the stuff that I'm buying is just going to be upgrades. That's what I'm hoping, is because if they are upgrades at this point, then I'll just start toting away the DVDs and maybe someday selling them, hopefully. If not, that I have like storage space that I can just kind of stack the totes up in a different part of, in the basement or whatever. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Before we continue on, though, we do have like 185 people in here right now. So it's a good
collectors,
time.
You crazy collectors.
We jumped up to 196. It's almost going to 200, boys.
Let's go to 200. Let's just do that right now. Come on.
Share this stream. Tell your friends.
Because we've been collecting, I don't want to age us, but we've been collecting longer than most people in here have probably been alive, boys. So we know a thing or two about a thing or two. We've got friends in this town. They tell us things.
Also,
trade.
Speaking of which, I wanted to ask y'all about, how do you feel about, this is a relatively new kind of phenomenon, but storing either Blu-rays or steelbooks in these protective cases. Like they now sell the protective kind of
The baggies?
No, like the actual hard plastic kind of
Listen.
like cases.
Okay, I'm going to tell you about that. Personally, if I was to get to that point that I felt like I needed to bag a movie,
Yes.
You're
right?
talking about those
I
the Mylar cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I got to a point where I felt like that needed to be done, I would do it that way. I would do it that way. I would pay the extra money and I would do it the way with those cases rather than the plasticky things. I mean, that to me, like I've talked about before, for my personal, I don't want to walk into my collection and just see all these bags all over the place. It's going to look like I'm in like a used DVD store. And I would rather have something that looked like that because when those are inside those plastic things, it almost looks they look nice. Like they look protective. They look like they're a piece of a valuable piece. It doesn't look like you're just throwing shit in there with like shrink wrap on it. Like that's just me. I would go the extra mile and I would buy those expensive cases.
Gus. Super chat. Appreciate it, man. He's asking.
Well, what do you guys think? Gus, thank you, man.
Well, for the longest time, man, up until the point when they started making those newer ones kind of got, I think it's called Echo Tech or something like that. The newer ones kind of got popular that like protect your steelbooks. Like what I would do is just wrap shit in bubble wrap if I was going to like store it or anything like that. But
it makes that noise when you
clearly that's not ideal for like, display. So, but just trying to keep things protected and things like that before those got popular. But I love them though. I love that because I got a couple of them sent to me that way, and I was like, well, these things are pretty awesome. Like the actual hard plastic kind of sleeve
right.
That cover the steel books. So I started kind of trying to buy more of those lately.
Like I got some for my box sets. Like I mean,
right.
It
like
looks
that.
nice. Like this looks really slick, right? Like it looks like if you were buying a baseball card back in the day, the nice ones would be in like the hard plastics or whatever, and it almost make it look like it's something of value. But if this was just here in some kind of like plastic bag, I feel like that almost downgrades what that item is,
And then you can't really take good photos of your collection either because the glare from all those goddamn bags.
Yeah, and I know they're more expensive, and that's why people aren't doing it that way. I mean, you can buy, I think, like 500 bags for what it costs to probably get like, 50 of those or something, like. So I mean, that's a big deal.
You're never gonna fucking ever live this down, by the way.
Dude,
Ziploc.
Ziploc made some way. They actually are really good for the box sets. Yeah.
Yeah. You just get some Ziploc storage gallon bags.
But yeah, I'm all down for that. I'm actually ordering more of those plastic things for some of my nicer sets.
Yeah, they actually have them for the limited edition arrows now too. I think somebody.
Yeah, I might get some more of those. Steel books would be another one I would maybe consider because those can get damaged pretty easy. But I'm not gonna bag anything.
The bags though, I was going to mention there's another option, and it's space saving, right? Okay, so I did this for my snapper cases, which I absolutely fucking hate, and a lot of people may not even know what snapper cases are. But they're those little shitty Warner Brothers, I think, and HBO, and there were a couple other companies. I think Image did them. The cardboard DVD cases with the little snap thing in the front, right? So a lot of the Eastwood stuff was like that. So what I did, I took the damn snapper thing apart and put it in this little plastic sleeve. Right, save space,
destroying it and shit.
Save space.
I don't know if that's gonna fly with anybody.
Listen,
rip your shit in half and store it this way.
I didn't rip it. I didn't tear anything up. If somebody wanted to buy those little plastic things again and put it together, they could do that. I didn't cut anything off of it. Right.
My priority one is I always try to upgrade my snapper cases so I can get them the hell out of my shelf.
But you'll save space this way, and you can do the same thing with regular DVD sleeves. All you'll need to do is just fold the DVD a certain way, the sleeve, right at one of the creases, and stick the sleeve in there with the DVD. You can save a lot of room that way, boss.
T3 doesn't like that you're destroying the snapper cases.
So
the snapper cases deserve to be destroyed.
He gave me a movie like that one time. I think it was 13 Ghosts. Like I borrowed 13 Ghosts off of him. And he gave me I was like, what the fuck? Because it's like, it was flattened out like that with the movie. Like, in a case. And what the hell? I didn't realize that that's what you were doing though.
Well, the movie was in a. Let's see if I've got one of them here. It was in one of these, so it's not like the movie's just sliding around in there, right? So the movie is protected on the inside of the cardboard. That's what I'm saying.
Sick. So
I know what I'm doing.
What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing currently now? Like, and I want to get into the chat too. Like, if anybody in the chat currently, we're talking right this second, are doing to create more space. I'm curious. Now, personally, me, like, the digitizing thing and putting them all on hard drives, not my thing. Putting them in the folders like you were talking about, like we did with our old CDs back in the day in our car.
You're not down with that?
I'm not into that either. I'm just curious on what you guys are doing in the chat, and for you guys now, like what you guys are doing right now. And we also got to answer Gus's question on the super chat, which was if we bought any 10 for 10 stuff.
Oh,
I have,
that,
yes,
yeah.
but not a lot. I think I bought 3 or 4 maybe.
I bought like one a day. I think I'm averaging out. Like the first day I bought like 2 or 3 movies, and then like one a day. I'm pretty much, and I'm hoping like there's going to be a couple of them like Girls School Screamers. That's one I want to get for $10.
That's same for me though. I bought like a couple, like the first couple of days, and then I just bought like I didn't buy any today. So that was the first day I didn't buy anything whatsoever.
You didn't get Killer Delight?
No, I mean I was going to, but then I'm like, man, I ain't never going to fucking watch that. And speaking of space issues,
Got
like
George Butt Flower in it. You said it yourself.
Yeah, that'll just be something else though that I have to figure out what the hell I'm gonna do with. So
could be another classic when he played in the Berserker.
That was a classic. If anybody's never seen that performance, you need
Pappy
to check it out.
Nyquist, boys. I think that was his name.
Pappy Nyquil. That's his name.
So, but for what I'm doing now, I think I've found a pretty good solution because a lot of you guys know that I took out all the DVDs aside from Anchor Bay. Anchor Bay's on the bottom row. Kept my Anchor Bays out. But I was like, I've got to, because this shit was stacked up, man. It was like 6 foot high stacks of like a lot of these boutique labels that I've been buying. Arrow, Vinegar Syndrome, Kino, even those cocksuckers at Severin. I've got some of their stuff. I don't want it. I should sell it. Speaking of which, look, boss. And I haven't opened it yet. So if somebody is interested, I'm thinking like 100 and 150.
God damn, buddy. What you always want to try to like sell shit so damn high for?
Well, I saw one sell for 125.
There you go.
Day.
It's a deal.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
So I got another little prop here though. What I found is, and I wanted to find something that I could keep them in some kind of order to where I would know where they're at. It would be easy to get to. And I got these on Amazon and they're not that expensive. I think you can get 6 of them for like $30 or something. And each one holds like 40 discs, 40 DVDs.
What in the fuck?
That's like bagging your DVDs 2.0. Look at that thing.
Yeah, so
that's
this
a
is
fucking gym bag. You got a gym bag full of DVDs.
You know what though? I would buy one of those, and like if you were like when we were kids, and it's like, hey, I'm gonna sleep over, and you walk in with like those, like
this
we're gonna
what
watch
we're
all these
watching.
tonight.
yeah, motherfucker, let's go. It's like a boom box.
That's awesome.
I love it.
I've never seen anything like that, but I would probably buy that.
Do you know what you're gonna do? Why don't you just put that whole thing on a shelf, like and just do them?
Well, that's the thing; it can be its own shelf.
This fucking God.
Hey, boy.
So
curling iron bags.
But like the cool thing about this is you can keep all. I kept all this stuff in kind of alphabetical order. So I can stack it alphabetically. I can find this shit, and my plan is,
what are you gonna do with those?
I'm going to stack them out in the storage building, so they'll be when I, if I need to watch the Bad Seed or
they're going to be in a storage unit.
Well, my back behind the house, I have this storage building out there. the Amityville sequels, An American Crime, the Blob remake, Cannibal Holocaust, all these readily available. It's got a zipper on the front.
Classics.
It's going to be well protected.
I mean, I've never seen that before, to be honest. I've never seen someone do that. I mean, was it just kind of a luck of the draw that those fit so snug in there like that?
No, they're made for DVDs and games and stuff.
Also, they're not made for curling irons then.
No. No.
But that, I mean, talk about bagging blue. Like, I think you might have like taken the bagging DVDs to like a new level. Like, you actually bagged a bunch at once.
That's right.
Sick.
$40 per case. And like I said, $30 for 6-pack of them. So I mean, you could hold thousands of them for little to no money, probably under $100.
But you know what you can do is you can sound kind of cooler. Like when you talk about it, you can be like, yeah, this is like my main collection here. But then in the back, I have this whole storage center with all my bagged DVDs and bagged Blu-rays. Like when you say it like that, then the collectors are going to be like, oh, wow, he's got a whole other place with all his bagged stuff.
The CKA collection.
Well, and here's the thing too. Archive. I have totes in this other room. I have like a bunch of them out there just sitting, stacked up like non-horror stuff. So I would probably, like, if I made the room, I could have that whole building just be like a big fucking library of
like
movies.
You could make them almost look like shelves. Yeah.
I actually thought about doing this. I don't know if you guys have ever thought about this, but like for a temperature controlled storage unit. Has anybody considered that?
I don't think I could do it. I think I would if I'm at that point, I think that I've got a big issue. Because then at that point, it's kind of like you don't even really, they're not even in your possession, really. Like I'm not going to, like, I need to have access to them. Like, I don't know. I just don't, I think if it gets to that point, I know that there's something wrong. Like, I can't let it get to that point.
Garrett's like the fucking Highlander. He needs to be around him so he can draw energy.
Well, yeah, like I'm very particular about what I do. And with them, like, I almost feel like I would try to sell a lot off to like slim down, not having to go that route. And I would start obviously with, the bins of non-horror DVDs that I've have doubles of. Like I don't need those. I technically could sell those now. Like I don't need 2 editions of Knocked Up. Like I don't even need one, to be honest, in my collection.
You really don't.
Like I'm thinking like in that route where I'm almost at a point where if I go through my non-horror is very different to me. If I go through like my non-horror comedies, and I look at some of the comments and be like, this movie sucks. I don't know why I have it. Like, I'm at a point where it's gone. Like, I'll just put it away into a tote or, sell it in like a used store and, towards something else. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now when it comes to that. Horror, I usually kind of leave alone.
I think for a lot of people too, it's very important it's okay to be picky sometimes. Like for me, when it comes to mainstream movies, I don't buy them. I don't buy mainstream films like newer movies. Most new horror movies I don't get. I'm fine with the digital copies of those. And I think like some movies, honestly, like think to yourself, okay, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was one that just popped into my head. People run out and got it because, it looked like, I remember we were on the mid-level show. Everybody loved the cover because it looked like the Sega Genesis game, right?
Yeah.
And my answer was, well, if you love the cover of the Sega Genesis game, buy the goddamn fucking Sega Genesis game.
But I like the first Sonic movie. And I know my son is going to want to watch those. So to me, it was like, okay, well, I like the first Sonic. Sonic is nostalgia for me. So plus this looks like the game. He's going to want to watch it. So to me, Sonic was like a no-brainer. And I'll buy Mario when it comes out too.
Oh, I would probably buy Mario.
When it comes to a lot of the mainstream, like I don't buy Marvel. Like I think I have a couple Marvel movies. Like I have Guardians because I did like that one. I have the Spider-Mans because I did like that one. I actually really liked that new Spider-Man, like the animated one, Multiverse. Like that was a really cool movie. But anything like Avengers or any of those, Doctor Strange and all that stuff, like I don't own any of that stuff because that's just not my jam. Like, maybe someday my son becomes obsessed with that stuff and I have to buy them, but they're currently not in my collection and I don't have any.
That's a library in itself, the fucking Marvel.
Right.
Really I'm gonna tell all my kids that Marvel films are evil. They're from the devil. so they'll be scared of them or something. I'm gonna try to figure out something. Be like, if you play them backwards, you conjure Satan up, so you don't want to do that. Like
Or if
Ouija
you're like
boards.
most kids, just say it's like a Christian movie or something. Most kids will stay away from it then.
That's right. I'm gonna make up
It's
something.
tough being a collector because it's easy to just go digital. It's easy to just stream and not buy. But when you've got that collector mentality, and I've had it my whole life, and I'm curious as we talk about this with people in the chat and you guys too, like, did you know that you were like you had a mentality as a collector
Woo!
like at a young age? Because I sure did. Everything I was into as a kid, I
200.
friggin' wanted everything about it. It could have been Ninja Turtles, He Man, Go GI Joes. Like once I got my mind on something that I enjoyed, I wanted it all,
That's
and I
exact.
and
That's
I put them all
exactly.
together, and I
That's
had
exactly
carrying
how.
cases. Like it just never ended. I mean, I told the story
So
on some podcast. I went to McDonald's and got like a freaking Mario toy one day, and then it was like I needed to try to go home and dig out every McDonald's action figure that I ever got and like put them together. Like
It's like
like
wrestling
I've
here,
always
figures
had
too.
that
here,
issue.
Yeah.
here's the weird part, Gary. That's usually like an only child kind of thing. But if you had like siblings, I'm
I
pretty sure,
I have
right?
a brother, but he was very similar to, but no, he's not very similar. He liked all that stuff, but he wasn't to that extent like I was, right? Like he liked to have it and he would play with me and all that stuff and we'd do stuff together. But I was always the one that was like, okay, things have to be this way or
You're
organized and
obsessed.
together. I was, and he never had that. So he's
See,
the same thing now. Like he likes all that stuff, but he doesn't,
but I was exactly the same way though growing up. Like I got into these different phases, and I would have to like get everything. Like I had to get all the WWF Hasbro figures, and I had to get all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when that crap came out, and like it just went from like one thing to another thing. GI Joes, like all that stuff, like together, and had to buy as much of it as humanly possible, and like you said, like keep it together and
Well, it's
like all
like
that.
a few years ago, before we started doing the show again, like I would talk to Garrett more about wrestling figures and shit. And he still get I think you still get the wrestling figures pretty hardcore and stuff. But I was like, I just don't have anywhere for it. It's something that I needed to quit because you're not really like with me, I only have one room really to for this stuff. And if you find that you're putting most of your stuff in totes and you're not really enjoying it or anything, which it was what was starting to happen with those wrestling figures. I was like, I've got to cut that out. Like I can't buy movies, records, you
Mhm.
know, video games and stuff at the time. I've got to say no to something, stop.
Yeah, it's hard, man. I totally agree. And wrestling figures, like, yeah, I was still getting them and they were just staying in piles or totes. And I was like, in my head, I'm thinking to myself, well, you know what? My son might want to, play with them because me growing up, like
Yeah,
they were everything to me. Like Saturday morning, I'd come out in the living room and I'd watch cartoons and eat breakfast, and I'd have my Hasbro ring and my bag full of Galoobs and Hasbros. I'd dump them out on the floor and I would spend doing like Royal Rumbles and stuff while I watched cartoons basically leading up to WF Superstars that came on at like 11 o'clock. Like that in my brain is like every Saturday for years. So in my head, I'm thinking, well, if I get a lot of these figures now, then when he gets to be like I was, where he wants to play with them all the time, then I'll have them and I won't have to go out. But I don't even know if that's ever going to happen, right?
see, I'm exactly the same way though, man. Like I keep in my mind thinking, okay, I'll have all this stuff to give to my kids, like, and so like it'll be worth something one day, and it won't be like a story like my parents told me when they were growing up, where they had all these baseball cards that would have been worth a fortune, but they sold all the shit. Like I don't know how many times I heard that story from my dad. Like he had all these Universal Monster kits that he would build that would now be worth a fortune. He had all these baseball cards and like all this other stuff that would be. And I never wanted that to be the case. Like I wanted to keep the stuff and eventually like give it. But I've come to realize one very important thing is my kids don't give a shit about any of the stuff that I
Well, that's
have.
usually how it
So
works.
it's like
Yeah.
they're into like their own like whatever TikTok-y ish kind of shit that they're into now. So like they don't care about any of the stuff in my collection except maybe like Piper's into like guitar now. So and I've got like 500 guitars now. So maybe one day she'll
She's kind of into movies too, or she was. I don't know if she
yeah, I
still
mean
is.
she's into horror films and stuff like that. So maybe she'll take over the collection, but I don't think that they think as much about or would care as much about that as we do. Just thinking about like the idea of it. I don't think it's as important So I don't know.
Now, do you find that and again, I don't know if it's different having girls or not, but like, do you find that they're at an age where you can be like, hey, you guys want to watch this new movie that came out that you
These
want to watch?
motherfuckers,
Guys...
I can't say anything serious. These guys.
Yeah. I like the sound of that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, so I had to really start thinning things out. Like my wrestling stuff that I was buying, like I've sold anything that predates, like anything after at Attitude Era or after, I've sold. So now all the things that I have that are current, like Mattel figures, are from like 2000 down, basically ish. So like for instance, I'll keep like anything like New Generation or 80s or
Dude,
early 90s.
I see
like,
some cool shit from time to time too that I'd
oh yeah,
love to get. Like there's
Yeah.
a Ultimate Edition box set of Terry Funk and Hulk Hogan from like 80, like 86 or something era when Hulk Hogan had the white Hulkamania shirt and shit.
Yep.
Which back in the day I would have fucking ordered that day one, but I got to back away and do it. Nope, can't do it, boss.
But you know, I see Corey in here and he makes a really good point. And I've thought about this too. I'm thinking to myself, what if something happened to me? Like I'm going to leave this for people to try to figure out what the frick to do with all this shit. Like
that's what my dad did.
I've thought about it, you know, I've thought about that. And I'm like, what's going to happen here? Is it just going to be like yard sale, come and take it? I'm like, I almost got to assign this to like my brother and basically be like, dude, like take a little bit of the money, split it with other people, but like you've got to like take the time and like eBay it and all that shit. Like I don't what's anybody
not,
do?
And that's like a full-time
that'd
be a full-time job, man, really. I mean, think of all the stuff that you've got.
I know I have thought about that.
The issue because that's exactly what my dad did. He probably has had seven full drum kits, and I'm thinking probably like 15 to 20 guitars, right? So now I've just got all this stuff. Like you can't store that kind of stuff, man. I mean, meaning like you can't put it out in like a garage or something like that because it ruins it. It'll warp the necks of the guitars. It'll warp your drum casings and things like that. Like you've got to keep it somewhere like temperature controlled. So I've got all this shit like either in the house or in like storage buildings, things like that. So that's what happens. I mean, I'll speak from experience, and like unless you're just going to sell all that stuff immediately, and like that's a huge undertaking to do that too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure.
Right, and that's why I'm hoping that maybe like for whatever reason, something doesn't happen to me earlier, but my son gets to an age where he's kind of showing interest, and he can just take it over and like run with it because kids now are going to be so much more efficient when it comes to things like selling on eBay or wherever that heck the next thing is. Like they're gonna be more efficient than we were because they're gonna grow up with it. So I think a kid once they get to a certain age will know like, okay, if I want to dump this, here's where I got to do it. Is it a live auction on Whatnot or whatever the hell it is? But I mean that's what I'm kind of hoping. And I saw somebody in here, Wes, I think just said he got the Mega Power set. I just got that in the mail today, so I hear you. I haven't opened it yet. It doesn't stop. Like posters, figures, and movies are probably like the three big ones for me right now.
Well, somebody asked us earlier, I think it was the Cable 54 guy. Yeah, I didn't get rid of all of my posters. I still have pretty much. I mean, I may have sold a couple of them here and there, but the majority of the stuff that you guys see in those old videos, I still have. And I think, honestly, that's probably the jackpot. And that's what I told Sarah. I'm like, that collection is probably worth more than all of the movies that I own. Easy.
Oh yeah.
So that's what you'll want to definitely research and shit like that.
Here's the thing about posters though. They're probably the easiest things to store just because like pre-1988, most of them came folded anyway. So like, you can put them in just about anything as long as they're like in some sort of protective cases and things like that. Like, now, when it gets to like the ones that are not that are roll posters, then it gets a little bit trickier because you got to get the tubes, and then that's going to be a whole other like storage issue and things like that. Or these backers that we bought a long time ago that are like basically like giant comic book style backers. You know what I mean? That you
backer, my God,
backers. But yeah, that just leads to more space issues.
Well,
But, yeah.
posters is another cool thing to talk about because, and someone in here says you guys should do an auction. We are going to be doing a live auction pretty damn soon, actually. So keep your eyes out for that. But yeah, being a big poster guy, like you're right, like those are some big ticket items. I just sold a poster today for $300. I mean,
God damn.
they are good, nice ticket items. I'm looking to sell quite a bit of my screen prints that are another valuable item.
I know
Just because I need to make shelving, I need to make space for new stuff coming in. That's basically why. And
our
obviously, you look at a lot of the things and you're like, this will never hit the wall.
Mhm.
But tubes are the issue, right? Like, I have so many tubes that I'm like, this sucks. Like, the flats are easy, like you said. You box them, boom, you're golden. The tubes suck because you don't want to put them in an attic or anything like that either. And another thing was I have someone who gives me posters from the theater, which I luckily get like a lot of cool ones. But sometimes they'll just say, "Hey, I got these ones," and they'll send them to me, and I'm like, "Dude, I don't need any of these." So I have like a lot of those, like jungle. What's the one with the Rock? The Disney Jungle Book, Jungle
Jungle
Ride or
Cruise or something like
I
that.
have like 2 of those. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna. What am I gonna do with those? Like, I'm thinking like I just got to get a day and just like list them or something. Like, I have a lot of like mainstream ones, like Sing or whatever, like some kids movie or whatever. Like, I have some of those. Like, I have a bunch of those just in a pile that I'm like, I don't. They're just taking up floor space. I got to get rid of these things, and I hate throwing them out. You know.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's true, but that's what the show's all about.
Hey, it's a popular show. We just hit over 200 people earlier,
Oh, thank you guys so
which is
much.
pretty huge. I didn't know how. The physical media shows always do very well, but something like this is kind of niche because I don't know if a lot of these people, and I want to get your guys' opinions on that, not to be judgmental towards any Ovians because we love all Ovians, but some of the newer collectors. Now, our buddy mid-level is kind of a newer collector. He's one of them. I don't think he's been collecting movies as long as we have. So some of the younger generation, any advice that you guys would give them on kind of future-proofing your collection to make sure that you don't end up like, at least me and Uncle Bill having to put some of this shit out there in storage and, these boom boxes and stuff like that?
I do easy stuff.
Go ahead, because
Number one, don't buy the same movie twice for different covers or whatever. Don't do that because that's just more shelf space. I've gone down that road. It's not fun. Like for instance, I showed it yesterday. Like, I still have it here from my Evil Dead video. Like, I bought these like at the time because this had a bonus disc from Best Buy. This had a steel book. So I was like, oh, I'm getting both of them. I don't need to do this. Like, this wasn't something that I needed to do back then. And I did that with a lot of stuff, not just Evil Dead, but like a lot of different movies. Another thing too is be a little bit more picky with what you're buying. Like, it doesn't seem like it now, but at the end, when all of a sudden you do run out of space, you're like, why do I have this? And, the person I might be referencing is probably in here. I busted his balls about it. But, somebody posted like, hey, my haul day or whatever. And they had a stack of movies and one was like Marine 4. And it's like, dude, like, don't waste your time on that shit. Like, if you're going to watch it once and it's like just kind of a random movie, like those are the movies I'd probably stream because eventually you're going to look back and you're going to look and you're going to be like, I could use some of the space. Why am I filling it with garbage? That's like my 2 big ones is like buying the same movie multiple times and buying things just to buy things and think you need
deals
everything.
Too. Like the 10 for 10 is a good example of just when you see a deal. And I know I've always been this way. And that's how I ended up with a ton of DVDs. Back in the day, Deep Discount had their 25% off sale. I'm not kidding. I had a notepad file of crap that I was going to get on the next 25% off sale. So I would say be more selective on what you're going to get. I mean, I can say that, but I also bought Killer's Delight today for $10.
Somebody made a good point in there. Narrow your focus, maybe. Like, for me, horror has always been number one, and the other stuff was always like I'll get what I like. Horror was like, I'm gonna get everything, and everything else, like other genres, was like, I'm gonna get what I like. So that's kind of where I kind of was at a point. But
Bob, I actually have Marine 6. I got it at Big Lots for like 75 cents on board. Another example of the.
I was
of
trying
the
to keep
deal.
inconspicuous, man. You know. Oh my god, that's so funny.
Here's what I would say too, and it goes to what CK was saying a second ago. Like,
All in one.
I do the same thing, but like honestly, these sales are the same thing as like when any like store has a sale where they put like stuff on clearance that nobody really wants anymore, because really what they're doing is they're just getting people to buy shit they don't need. I mean, these films are not any kind of films that we would normally buy, and now we're buying them just because we're never going to watch them. We're buying them just because they were marked down and it seems like a good deal. So we're buying the deal. We're not actually buying the fucking movie. We're just like, oh, this is like much cheaper than it was. I pray to God that like
I needed Master of the World on Blu-ray.
no, you did, and you know that you did. But it's just like it just seems like, wow, that's such an amazing deal. I've got to have it. But in the end, like you would have never bought that had that fucking deal not existed. Like that would not even been on your radar or anything else like that. So I just think that a lot of this stuff that we buy on these specials, or like, and when they have these like sales, it really is more of just like a fear of missing out kind of thing than it is actual shit that we need or would watch or
Do
anything.
you guys
like that.
remember though back in the day other sites to get good deals and stuff? I remember GoHastings.com was another one for used stuff. Like I went there a lot because they had like crazy cheap prices.
Movie Gallery was one, I think.
Yeah, Movie Gallery had used stuff too.
Yeah, I bought a lot
Or
of stuff.
Family
from them.
Video, maybe it was Family Video.
Family Video was like they just went out of business, but before that, I was still buying stuff off their website. They were pretty popular still.
CD
Yeah, I mean, Deep
Universe.
Discount was
That's
my
old,
big
old
one,
school.
really. Which one?
CD Universe.
Oh,
That's very.
Did you guys
old
do a lot
school.
of Deep Discount back in the day? I feel like that was my go-to because that was like
Yeah.
the only thing that I knew where it was like spend $25, you get free shipping or something. Like that's where like it was that was why it was my jam. Not only the prices were good, but it was like the first site I remember was offering free shipping back in the day if you bought a certain amount. And I used to I bought a lot on that.
The early days of DVD, I've talked about this before, but this is just a very nostalgic time period for me. Is because I discovered a lot of these movies that way. Is I got them on Amazon through this click program online where you just clicked on crap for like an hour a day. And after a week or so, you would have enough points to cash out like a $25 gift card. And the Amazon gift card, I would get some random Anchor Bay movie most of the time on that, like one a week. And I built up a collection, a lot of Euro horror stuff that way.
I remember you talking about that. That's so funny. Do you remember another good one was when you go to Blockbuster and it was like the 5 for 25 deals or whatever.
Movie Gallery.
That was a
too.
big one for me. Yeah, like you'd go in there and house those.
Yeah,
things
they would
for sure.
put new ones out at a particular day, and I would go each week. And I got a lot of like really shitty Lionsgate, low budget stuff that way.
Yeah.
Like Santa's Sleigh, I think I got.
I think a lot of those See No Evil movies we got that way.
Yeah.
Like,
Eden
so-
Lake and all that stuff.
Yeah, all the what was that series called that they did? They put out
Dimension
all-
Extreme or whatever.
No, it was like something like Films to Die For or something.
Oh yeah,
like
Films
that.
to Die For. Yeah,
Yeah.
8 films to die for. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a cool stream. Like we could go on for hours talking about this kind of stuff, I feel like, but I really just feel like the big ones for me is I utilize my space wisely. I look for dead space that I know is that I can maybe customize a shelf to fit in. Like I said, I just bought one of those spinner shelves, which wasn't really something in the cards that I wanted to do per se, but for one, I'm like, you know what, it would fit right here. There's nothing going on over here in this room. It's kind of a cool concept because it reminds me of like the old 80s like spinners. So it's like, okay, that kind of fits the theme of the room and all this other stuff. So I'm excited to get that. It should be here probably this weekend, but that's going to grab me an extra 600, maybe a little bit less movies to get on there. So I'm going to probably rearrange what I have in certain spots, but use your space wisely. And like Wes said at the beginning is if you have the wall, use the wall.
Uh-oh, boys. Bug-eyed Betty is back.
Oh, Jesus.
Wants to know when you're coming to Pike County, pretty boy.
I don't know. We're working on it, actually.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we need to do like a special, like a streaming special or a movie or something. Garrett comes to Appalachia.
I would love to, man.
That would be a great documentary. We'll get Kelly Markop down here to film that.
We get you to try some biscuits and gravy for the first time.
Yeah, when's the Scarefest thing? I would love to come down and hang out with you guys. How far are you from there? Like, if I came to you guys, hung out, then we went there, was that a huge?
No, it's like probably 2 hours.
Couple of hours.
Yeah.
See, I wouldn't mind doing that. Who's got
It'd be
room
like
at their house?
driving across Rhode
It fucking ain't me, Garrett.
3 times.
Wes, you got a guest bedroom over there?
Yeah.
Oh, let's rock, kid. Rad Pack is supposed to do a big meetup in April.
Where is Kentucky?
So I don't know. It'll be.
It's
I
in
would
the
love to
United
come
States.
down there for sure.
Yeah,
because
we'll
I
have
would
to
just love
do
to
that.
see where, like, your town. Like, I would just love to see it. Because all I've seen is Into the Pit, and I feel like I look and I'm like,
Dude,
if it's still anything
wish-
like that now, I feel like I'd be like 20 years behind of where I'm living.
It's going to be like Barbarian Gary
Yeah.
get down here and like
Yeah,
you go into the
somebody lives
basement.
under the floor.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say? I won't make out alive? Is that what you're saying?
There's a lot of
Can't
people
make
that
any
are telling you
promises, boss.
not to do it. Yeah.
They could
Oh,
get you hooked on some blue pills and you'll be stuck here.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I think I would love. I think I want to try to go to Scarefest next year because it feels like everybody uses that as a meeting ground. It's an easy enough place for me to go.
Yeah, I had enough people asking us about scare. I don't like conventions, but fuck it, I would fucking go. I don't
You'd
care.
have to go. Just get a table. It's
We
the
could
goal.
take you to the Strand.
Hell yeah.
At least the outside of it. We can't get in there anymore, but
It's a damn shame.
The mayor says I would look like Pauly Shaw driving a tractor singing "Thank God I'm a country boy." Oh my god, that's so funny.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if anybody has any questions or anything too, we got a little bit of time to get into that. But I mean, I think we covered pretty much everything. Like, there's a lot of different ways, and I think probably the best advice, like we were saying, pick something. Like if you're picking Marvel movies and superhero movies, if you love that, then you can make an entire collection out of that. Or horror stuff. That's mainly what I get. I don't really get non-genre stuff at all, aside from some of the movies Sarah gets. That's about it.
I got a question. And this is one that's like haunted me for years now. What would you tell like either your kids, family, other collectors about like in terms of like collecting figures and things like that? Open them or keep them in the box?
Again, I'm gonna say if it's a kid, it depends on what the figure is. If it's like a figure, like a wrestling figure, I'd probably say open it and enjoy it, because think about how much we enjoyed those damn Hasbros. And even still, Hasbros now, even though they're opened, are still pretty valuable to people.
Yeah.
You know, if it's an adult like me, like all my stuff is boxed. But if my son at some point becomes so obsessed with wrestling, I probably would let him open them, and I would probably join in on the fun with him of like, you know, doing storylines or whatever it is that there. But like as a kid, I would like say be a kid. But if all of a sudden they come home with like, I don't know, it's, you look at it and you're like, this is a collectible, this isn't a figure, like maybe box it up, whatever. But I would
Mel
let
keeps
a
all
kid
of
be a
her
kid.
Funko Pops in the box. I saw that today in the video.
If I could go back and do it over, I would take every goddamn figure out. Like, but now at this point, I'm too like invested in
But
it.
just look how beautiful that artwork is.
I have him, but he's out of the box. I don't have him in the box anymore.
I mean, scared glow. He glows in the dark, Bulls.
But you know what else too, Uncle Bill, and I've thought about this as well. Like even that wall that I have access to in my library that's got all the autographs on it. A part of me was like, man, I wish I could get like a huge glass shelf, and then I would take my figures out and make like little displays like in the glass shelf. Like
yeah.
I would probably do that. And what's nice is at least some of the new NECAs, you can always put them back in the box if you ever wanted to. Like, and not pretend they never opened them, but like just as far as to display them a different way, like
That
those
that
new
is
boxes, you can do that.
that is kind of my ultimate goal is to get one of those glass display cases, kind of like they've got at comic book shops and things like that, where they keep things in, and try to like display like as many
Mm.
figures and things like that as I
I
can.
almost think that those take up more room than they're worth, though.
They do, but like the display factor of it is amazing. Like just
Well, then I think if they're displayed, you at least feel better about having them. You know, like that's the problem when they're in the box and they're just kind of shoved away in like a corner, like mine are and his are. It's kind of like you have them, but at the same time, it's like they don't mean as much.
also they make the new ones now that like kind of like rotate,
Right.
so you can hold more and shit like that. So yeah,
Never buy day one. That's good advice,
It is
actually.
very good advice.
Yeah, you can save a
But
lot of money that way, especially
I
on
will say
mainstream
it
movies.
depends. If it's something like limited, right? And you see like it, you then I would say you have to buy day one. But mainstream stuff, nah, don't buy day one.
what do you
I
think
wouldn't.
about avoid the YOLO mentality, which is the you only live once mentality? Which I know that a lot of people have that. I've had that at times where you're just kind of like, ah, well, fuck it. Like, you know, you're all gonna die anyway. Especially when COVID was around. Man, I was
And
buying shit
spend
like
$400
crazy. I
on
was like,
vinegar
you
syndrome
know,
stuff, both.
uh,
Those are actually really good tips
yeah, they are.
for most people. But you know, as we know, being collectors, sometimes those are hard to fight, right? Like the YOLO mentality, I'm pretty good with that. It depends, right? Like there's specific things that I'm just like, I don't care. Like I've always wanted, I need it. Like if it's the Chucky doll, or maybe I didn't have enough money at that day to do it, I'll be like, screw it, I'm gonna figure out a way. There's specific things that I would be like that with, but the day one is a great advice. Blind buy is another great advice. Keeping up with the Joneses, I feel like is another great one, especially for younger collectors out there, because it's tough, man. When you see that people are getting things, and I feel it, you wanna get it too. And if it's not in your means, then don't feel like you have to do it or you're not as good as or whatever. Because I've seen that happen with a lot of people. They don't feel
Well,
as adequate of a collector because they just can't afford what other people can. And
they got
that's
dick
why I
demon
said
envy.
before, make up your own rules, right? Like, um, and do that.
No,
Well, a
but here's
lot.
the thing: like with the way YouTube is now, man, you've got I would say hundreds of channels of people that solely like collect and display physical media. And like their collections are insane. And there's no way that any kind of like normal person could keep up with that shit. And if you try, you're probably going to go bankrupt at this point because like
Mm.
I mean there's just too many of them anymore. So trying to keep up with what people are doing and like these collections that people have nowadays, there's just no way. You'd have to be collecting for 20 or 30 years.
So my connection's been better tonight, both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not
Definitely.
froze up one time.
Yeah, god damn it, I figured it out.
And you hit it right on the head. Is that you guys might look at us and say, wow, you guys get everything. But this is like a 20 something year project, right? Like it wasn't like I started last year and I just got all this stuff. Like what's nice about it now is a lot of the times, all the stuff, we got a lot of stuff out of the way early. When I was buying DVDs for $2 used, like building up a collection, now it's just kind of like, filling in some of the gaps. Of course, it gets hard when like a lot of these titles that we want to get are like $40 a pop. Like it hurts sometimes.
I kind of agree with this too. Like you become like a you're running a mini museum. Yeah.
I'm kind of there actually.
Old Curly Jaws wants you to check your messenger because he sent you some softcore porn of himself.
Now let me ask you guys this. It's a little bit off topic. As collectors, is there anything that you don't really collect that you kind of feel like, you know what, I wish I did a little bit more and maybe someday I may get into that realm when it comes to maybe more like on the movies end of it, like movie related. Like for instance, for me, I have like zero busts, and a part of me is kind of like, you know what, like I kind of wish I did have some. I never went down that route collecting busts, but there's some pretty cool ones out there. And when I got that spinner shelf, I said to myself, you know what, there's this flat top on it. And I'm like, I think my goal is going to be to get one really cool bust and display it up on top of that thing because it's a perfect spot for it. And it's always something I've kind of wanted, but I've never dipped my toe into that game. So like when I show my movie room and stuff, I see other people like Christian's got a lot of busts. Like I have none. And it's kind of an area of the collecting community that I kind of wish I had a couple.
I was thinking the one thing I wish I would have gotten into early on was the Mondo posters and things like that.
Hmm.
Like, not just for the fact they're worth a damn fortune nowadays, but just because they're really, really cool. And I never, ever bought any of those. I don't think I have any of those.
I think the most fun, and it's probably surprising to you guys. And if I had an endless amount of space and money, maybe not endless amount of money, but a decent income, as far as a couple $100,000 a year, I would definitely start a collection of 35 millimeter films. Like when we did the
God, don't you fucking dare start that again.
well, I'm not. I'm just saying that takes up a ton of space. But I was like, I thought that was probably one of the more fun things that I didn't really collect those. We got those for the screenings that we did. But if I had the space, like I know Tarantino collects the 35 millimeter film.
Yeah.
Give you an example. I think that I would get off on that.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that because that's like something completely unique, and I would say you could turn a major profit on that too.
Speaking of which, I have 35 millimeter film trailers left that I may put up on auction soon. Who's to say? Let's ask Tom Atkins.
S'mores the Door says, "What room do I have the Showbiz Pizza band in?" I wish I had that.
That'd be so awesome.
Well, that's another thing, Garrett. You got to stay down here a few days because I think there's 2 left in the United States. One of them is within driving distance of where we live.
Showbiz?
It's a Billy Bob's Wonderland is what they call it, but it's the Showbiz Pizza chain or whatever with the band and everything.
And it looks like when you go in there, it looks like a gymnasium from about 1985. I swear to God. I'm not kidding. They haven't changed any. That looks exactly like it did, or as I remember it from going down there as a child. They haven't changed anything in that fucking place. They may have put like some new games in, but the setup of everything in that building is from the 80s.
I'd love to go to that, man. We don't have anything. Like we have a Chuck E. Cheese here. Like we have 1 or 2, I think, but it's not even close to the same. It's all updated. It's like. It's not even close like what it was.
Well, Chuck E. Cheese just ripped off Showbiz Pizza, by the way, if people don't know that. Showbiz Pizza was the first. And they did a documentary about the band itself, the Rock-afire Explosion was on Netflix a few years ago. It's a really fun documentary. I don't know if Garrett, have you seen that one?
No, but I love that kind of stuff. I've watched a lot of documentaries on like Chuck E. Cheese and Showbiz Pizza on YouTube. There's some really good ones on there about that, but I haven't seen this thing that you're talking about. No.
Yeah, this was professionally done. I think it was Netflix or Amazon had it on. It may still be on streaming somewhere. I don't know if it had a physical release or anything, but it's definitely worth checking out.
So I'm
very interested.
Here's a question I hadn't thought about. If you had the money, what screen use props would you look? Well, I think Sean Clark's bought all of them now. So
yeah, he's got the one I want. Actually, I would take Alex Winter's jacket from Lost Boys. That's what I would want, the original one. That's still something I'm after. My buddy's done replicas of it, and we're kind of working together and trying to get me one. But it's a process, man, because like you've got to find every patch and every piece of tapestry that was on there. It's a big process, but to have the actual one that Sean Clark has, and keep your eyes open because he's going to come on my show and we're going to dive deep into those jackets as soon as his video is out talking about them.
You trying to wrestle one away from him, Gary?
I'll never be able to. I can't even imagine how much he spent on those.
I guarantee.
We got a sneak peek of those when we had him on the show a couple of weeks ago. He just pulled the fucking the Alex Winter jacket out.
I can't.
Yeah,
And
dude.
Garrett was
I
like-
kind of looked up like what those were going for. I can't even imagine how much he spent on all of them because he got every one. So I'm telling you, it's small fortune, man. I don't even know. I don't have money like that. Not even close.
No, I mean that's he can thank Norman Reedus
Norman
for all
Reedus.
that shit.
Norman Reedus bankrolled that whole set. Yeah.
That's funny.
I think for me, the ultimate movie prop would be the original Michael Myers mask,
Yeah, I mean that's
and who knows what that would go for if it ever came up. Like, there's one that we know of, but
Check
evidently
out that horror critic.
Jesus.
Now is that for
Damn.
the lot? That was for the lot.
The whole lot, or was that just shit? That's some major cash, man. Norman Reedus, he should be like.
Norman Jeebus. Yeah.
There's another story though about the Meyer, evidently there may be two of them known now. Originally there were three masks. Sean Clark, this has been almost 2 years ago now, said that he may have located a second one, but I don't think anything ever came out of that.
I think that I would just want something really, really goofy, like the brain from Blood Diner. That would be amazing.
It's
Harold's
probably
gonna
not
love you
even
for
Have
that.
around.
Uncle Anwar's brain in that thing.
A lot of this stuff though, like we were talking to Paul Ehlers about like the Madman props and stuff like that. He kept the axe, but that was it. Like all the makeup and the appliances and stuff like that. They probably threw that away.
Do you guys have anything like for screen used? I don't think I do.
Screen use, no.
Oh
I
no,
have-
I do. I have a stuff container, screen used stuff container. I have like they were doing these auctions back in the day where you get a tile from like the bathroom that the guy was laying in and saw. Like I have one of those. I have like
You remember the shit that they were doing for a while with Evil Dead, where it was like get a piece of the cabin and like
I have that. I have that. I got like the dirt and shit. I've got the dirt from like Texas Chainsaw.
I do have
Massacre, like,
something.
house or
Hang on a
whatever.
second. I'll
Like,
see if I can get it.
I've got all that stuff. Like
Franklin's
dirt around the Texas
flashlight.
Chainsaw house
That-
or wood from it or something.
That's a good.
Yeah.
I would have never even thought of that. But that would be a cool one. Franklin's flashlight from the
That's
original.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Evil Dead
The,
book.
yeah,
original
the
Necronomicon, that's cool.
Necronomicon. Yeah.
The original Myers mask worn by Moran is filled with tears, he said.
Nobody would ever believe that I had this either. But yeah, this is a screen used from Rob Zombie's Halloween.
What the
It's
fuck
one
is
of
this?
the books
Oh yeah.
from.
Oh, that's an original screen used book?
Yep. Well, they had like 100 of them or something on screen from Dr. Samuel Loomis.
Really? I have that book, but I don't think I have that. I don't think mine has that back.
Well, yeah, this is not a real book. This is just like a prop book, which
That's great, man. I love that.
the inside of it is from something called The Fifth Horseman.
Let me go see what mine looks like on the back. Hold up.
So they must have got this book on closeout. It's from 2006 and just made these book slips or whatever the hell they're called.
Oh, maybe it is kind of the same. Look, I have one. Oh,
There you
baby.
go.
I don't know if
There you
it's the
go,
same. I don't know if it's the same thing that you have, or if mine might be like a replica. I
What
don't know.
book is it? What book is yours?
It's nothing. It's blank.
Oh, okay. That's odd.
Holy shit! Yeah, this would be awesome. The Belial from Basket Case, or even the basket from Basket Case.
No, but that's something that I've always wanted, right? So that's something in my head. I'm like, why has Trick or Treat Studios not put out a basket with a replica Belial? And I would buy that in 2 seconds. I don't know why nobody's ever done that.
I never figured out why. How many damn different editions of the Evil Dead have they done? But they have never done a steel book of the dead. How easy is that?
That's true.
Yep.
But the Elmer puppet, yeah, I don't think they ever came out officially. I think a company made that, but it wasn't official. But yeah, guys, it's been a fun show, guys. If you guys have any more questions or anything, hit us with them. But yeah, I mean, we hit over 200 people
yeah.
tonight.
What do you think you're gonna do? Would you guys buy? Do you have room in either of those rooms for like a spinner shelf or anything like that to like add an extra 600 spots? Because they're narrow. That's what's nice about them. You know, if you have like a
Probably.
corner or something like that, they were a little pricey to be honest. I think it was like $250 for that shelf.
I would be more interested in a little shelf like you've got behind you. I think I have room for that, something like that.
I could do the spinner shelf in there in like the around the living room there. I think that would be cool to have something like that in there.
Yeah, but everybody
I
definitely
don't have room to
like.
do shit in here anymore.
I don't know how many likes we got, but we don't have enough. So like the video and definitely subscribe to both channels. I know, Garrett, you're very, very close to 2K, right?
Yeah, man. I'm actually I think I'm 60 away from 2K. So, any help
possibly,
would be
yeah,
beneficial for
at
sure.
least overnight, maybe get him to 2K.
Overnight, that'd be
cool.
huge. And then tomorrow, guys, I'll be simulcasting by myself at noon on Dead Pit and my channel, Born to Be Rad, and we'll be going through the new Vinegar Syndrome sale at noontime. So I'm actually I had some cancellations tomorrow, so I'll be set up here. I'll probably go on a little bit before noon, so it'll be all good. And then when I'm done, I'll head to work. But yeah, so I won't have a piece of paper or anything like that. I'll probably pull up the site on like a screen share and all
You don't
that
have
stuff.
to go in a closet or anything.
Nah, it'll be it'll be as pro as possible, guys. So come hang with me if you're around about like quarter of noon tomorrow.
That's the best shit I've ever seen. Sorry.
Very cool, yeah. And we've got some cool stuff planned. Patreon request. I know Uncle Bill's he's not happy about it, but Friday the 13th, part 6. We're going to be doing a fan commentary of that soon, and hopefully we could do Uncle Bill's rankings. I don't know if he's down.
I want to do that. I want to do that.
Oh, I'm down to do it. I'm just saying, like, I'm fine with doing that, but it's just the thing that I'm more kind of pissed off about is having to watch fucking Friday 13 Part 6 again because I don't like that movie, and I've seen it like 8 million times. I mean, I don't know.
Garrett's a big fan of Part 6, though.
Yeah, I love Star. I was gonna probably flip my shit where I see where it lands on your ranking, but we did that last time where I ranked and they critiqued my ranking, and I just that was the last Friday the 13th that we had, so I only thought it would be fitting to do the same thing, but me and Wes will critique UB's ranking this time, and the next time it'll be his, and then we'll do it for him. But I think it'd be kind of fun.
Okay, you know how we do the don't be such a fart head, Uncle Bill.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
We could do a round table commentary for part 6. We could get a bunch of people on there to watch the movie with us, maybe change it up a little bit.
That's true. I mean, at least it would keep me from having to like really talk about it because I don't.
Come on, Uncle Bill, you pussy!
Hey, you leave him.
That's the
alone.
best part of the movie, really. Oh man,
Jason.
Stop.
that's so accurate though. It's exactly how he talks in that movie.
Well, did you ever play the game? Did you ever play the Friday 13th game? It's the same. That's all you hear the whole time he comes
Yeah.
out. It's the same like 3 lines, like over and over and over again. It's funny.
Oh, but yeah, we're gonna do both those then, right? I mean, we're gonna do the ranking on Friday the 13th. I think, isn't that the idea? And then do the commentary like at some point.
Maybe a few days later,
Yeah.
around Friday the 13th. We've done almost all of the Friday the 13th movies at this point. I mean, there's only a handful that we've never done. So, and we've never done 6, oddly enough. But anyway, we appreciate everybody coming out, though. I know Garrett's got his big room tour thing coming up. When is that coming out? Do you know?
It's filmed. It's on the editing room right now. So it'll be this month. No, don't get me wrong, but the editing.
What kind of time are we looking at? How long is it going to be?
I don't know. I think I think probably maybe 30 minutes, I'm going to say, possibly. But, you know, it's going to be in parts. So this is going to be part 1. So just be mindful. Yeah.
It's going to be like, the Star Wars trilogy, boys.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to throw that out there just in, you know, passing, because I'm sure once I do it, people are going to be pissed. You know, but I wanted to do it this way for multiple reasons. But yeah, so the editing's gonna be cool. It's gonna be fun because we edit it a certain way where it's, you know, I almost did the MTV Cribs basically remake. So it's gonna be very much like in that same vein where it's gonna be highly edited. So that's gonna take a little while. But I think at the end of the day, it's gonna be pretty cool. So hopefully it all works out.
Mayor's got an interesting one here. We didn't think about who's hosting the Saturday edition of the Vinegar Syndrome sale.
We still don't know.
I mean, I could probably do it. I'm off, but it all depends if all of a sudden I have like plans that I didn't know about. But I might be able to do it.
Yeah, I'm actually working on Saturday, but we'll figure something out. I don't know.
Some of these comments, man.
Fucking working. But yeah, the chat's been amazing tonight.
Steve behind the dumpster.
Hillbilly Confidential. That would be a good. He could
Oh
maybe
my
do
God.
that.
Do it,
Get
please.
Sarah to do it. That would be hilarious.
Oh Lord. She be like, this is all a bunch of shit.
What the fuck is this?
Bunch of boobies and shit on here.
But yeah, it's been a fun show though, guys. I'm glad that the technical difficulties hopefully are past us now. But it's always fun hanging with you guys and the chat and everything. And yeah, I mean, anything else we got coming up? I don't know. We're doing an auction and everything eventually. The Brandon Cronenberg movie Possessor, we got a request in to do that one. I think Carter wants us to do the review of that, which I've never seen it yet, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, I mean, we'll have more stuff coming up for sure. Anything else you guys wanted to mention?
No, I mean, I actually, you know, I have things in the works, but nothing set in stone. I think next week we're going to try to release the Rad Pack podcast pilot. So see how that kind of works. And it'll be in audio form. And then I think we'll probably release the video version probably a couple days later. But that's hopefully, that's another thing that's just going to pretend. It's only going to depend on the editing and stuff like that. So we'll see.
Interesting. Getting in the podcast game, boys.
We're going to try something different. See what happens there. But that's the only thing I have really planned right now. I have a couple like Rad Company stuff for this month, but the problem is I'm just working on dates to get everybody dated the right way. So that's the other big one.
Yep. So yeah, we appreciate everybody though, and we will catch you guys next time. It's borntobirad.com and deadpit.com. Give us the thumbs up.
Up your butt.
Like, subscribe. And if you subscribe, here's something else you can do. Once you subscribe, you can click the bell notification, right? And it'll notify you anytime that Dead Pit puts up new shit.
Or don't. I really don't give a if you do.
I want you to. I want you to.
I don't care.
Let's keep our community growing here on YouTube.
I don't like it. I don't want you to do nothing.
Listen, they need to do that, pal.
No, don't you dare touch it.
Thumbs up. Subscribe. And click that bell.
Hey everyone, it's Oak Early Jaws. We got some great shirts for you. We got Faces of Death Part 2. We got Creepy Stories to Tell in Kentucky. The Colonel Would Approve. We also got deadpit.com. We got Dead Radio with the little fucking Dead Pit dude on there. We got It Never Ends, a Halloween spook parody of the new movie. We got It at Night. We got the Rad Pack, Uncle Rad himself. It just gets better and better, so go on and get you some shirts over at Team Public. It just gets better and better, boss.
Thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon. Deadpitonpatreon.com is the only place to check out a complete archive of the old Dead Pit radio shows all the way back from 2005 on, in addition to the midweek shows and fan commentaries, exclusive podcasts, and much more. Dead Pits on patreon.com if you're interested. Tiers start at only $1.